JaQuala is one of my interns, my most recent intern. So I met her when she was still in high school, and she's always wanted to be a counselor, and now it's come full circle, and she's becoming a counselor and doing her internship under me.
So back in 2017, I lost my best friend, Jamisa Lewis, and it was a difficult time for me. So I remember going to my doctor's office and asking if I could possibly see someone, and I was connected with Stephanie. Yes, she was a sister from another mother. I was there every weekend, almost every day, go over after school, pop up whenever, go to church services. She was my everything.
What is it like for a high schooler to go through something like that?
It was honestly tough. She was such a big figure in our high school because she was connected to so many different people. She was able to touch so many different lives with just her charisma, her characteristics. She was just a lovable person.
How did you deal with it?
At first, I really wasn't dealing with it. My grades began to drop. I really wasn't interested in going to school. I wasn't really motivated to do anything until I started seeing Stephanie. It was like a sister connection, but I feel like it was way deeper than that. She, like when people say they have twins and the twins have the telepathy and you can hear or know what they're going to say before they say it. We were that to each other. She knew everything that was going on. She could give me advice when I didn't ask for advice. She was there always.
So she passed away. The first few days after that, I mean, how was that for you?
It was a bit difficult. I also, that same day, my aunt's grandmother passed away. So we were dealing with that, the grief and that loss, and then having my best friend die on the same day while I'm sitting at her setting up, that was a bit tough. I remember getting the phone call. Someone reached out and they were like, "Hey, I'm so sorry for your loss." And at that point, I did not know what was going on. So we got in the car. We began to drive down to Litchfield, and we couldn't even make it. I got physically sick in the car and ended up having to turn around and just go back home because I didn't want to be there or actually deal with that at the moment, not knowing how true it was.
How long was it before you said, I need to go see a counselor? I mean, how long did you deal with it on your own?
I tried dealing with it on my own for about 2 months. And when I saw a dramatic change in my grades, I was a straight A student. I had a 4.0. And when my grades began to get to C averages and below, where I was like, I can't do this anymore because I know.
What grade were you in at this point?
I was in the 11th grade.
Okay, so you had a year and a half to get this back together.
Right.
For graduation.
Definitely.
Okay, so you knew some of that. So is Miss Stephanie the first person you contacted, or did you contact another counselor before her? Or?
She was the first and only contact.
How did she help you? I mean, what was it that she was able to do for you?
She was mainly able to teach me coping mechanisms because after dealing with the loss of Jamisa, I dove into a depth of depression, and she was able to help me climb out of that hole. So I told my primary care physician that I would like to go and start counseling. She told me that she would reach out to a couple people and they would reach back out to me to let me know when I could get started for sessions. So maybe a couple of days later, I received a phone call. It was Stephanie on the line, and she basically tried to talk me into counseling, tried to get me into the office just to see how the process began and how it would work.
So you agreed to come for 1 hour.
Yes.
Did you think you were going to ever come back when you were walking in the door?
When I was walking in the door, no. At that point where her office was located was just past the accident site.
Oh.
So I would have to drive through that area, go around, and then get to her office. And at that point, I don't think I drove that way in a while. I would honestly go back through Kings River Highway and go the opposite way just so I wouldn't have to go through the accident site. And so that day, I just drove right through it and had to deal with all of those feelings while trying to get to her office.
So you agreed to 1 hour, thinking, well, I'll see her for an hour to get her to leave me alone, and then it'll be over with. But at the end of that hour, what had changed?
At the end of that hour, I felt different as a person. Actually talking to her and being able to get responses, I think at that point I knew that counseling was something that I would want to do because I could honestly see the minimal changes that she was already making in my life. And I thought at that point, that's something that I want to do and be able to do for other people.
What would you say to teenagers right now that's going through what you went through in 2017?
I would tell them that they're not alone. Find your other people, get connected, stay connected. You do not want to go through this alone because you don't have to. There are a lot of people out here in this world that are willing to help you, that can see what you are capable of.
even if you reach out to a counselor, I'm hoping they all reach back out in due time. You know, some people are one man or woman show and it can take longer, but I will always try to give referrals, especially the ones that I'm hoping are taking other people, you know. But I think the other part about not being alone is you felt so alone because your relationship was so unique with Jamisa. But then if you thought about it, so many people were supportive and struggling, and there really could be a village there, right? There's so many people I see at Waccamaw that they struggle with disordered eating, anxiety, and I sometimes think, are you there? I see 5 more of you, right? And they don't know, you know. So it's accepting the fact that other people can also be struggling and kind of having that unity among peers. But then, yeah, a licensed therapist would be the best, you know, another route. You would just want as much support as possible.
What's your thoughts about what has happened to her over the past 7 years?
Just her resilience, right? Like, she still came that day. And I know exactly where that accident site was because I was there. And did not say anything at the time because I thought that would be what a weird first meeting, right? To say, oh, I was there. And she was struggling, and she just kept coming. And she was doing all the things she was supposed to be doing while doing great in school. And I mean, she got the Cameron A. Hall Scholarship. She didn't just get one for her, but they honored her with one in Jamisa's name. That's not happened for her since then. I remember I was at Polly's plantation right there taking pictures. I have watched her grow, get stronger, do all those things, get to the point where she only calls me when she needs bare minimum advice, honestly. She set up all the things. She got the Yawkey Scholarship, all that you deserved. You got some other ones. DST gave you one, Delta Sigma Theta. You got the Cameron A. Hall times 2. I mean, enough where, again, USC owed this child money. Mm-hmm. And I got only a couple phone calls, and one was she was terrified that she would have to owe money because there hasn't been a time where I haven't watched her work while going to school, while doing this. I was just also astounded that she's made such a mark on these people's lives that it's like investing in her, and it's only to make sure that she gets everything she deserves.
Now, you say she's making a mark on people's lives. What are you talking about there?
Well, the Jamisa Lewis Color Run, right? I still have kids I see from Waccamaw that have to maybe leave a session early because they have to head to the color run, and I will always pull her up, like, you want to see who helped start it? She just shows that grit and that like heart and that kindness, and she's so smart that I've just watched you just bear claw through life and just work so hard. Again, I still think it's bananas that when I called back the referral from the doctor, she answered, made her own appointment. I mean, I'm just amazed by her, that she has managed to do all of this. Even now, she'll come to her internship after getting off at 8 a.m. and then does her internship.
If you had not found a counselor?
If I had not found a counselor, I honestly don't think that I would have finished high school. Like, I'm not sure that I'd honestly be here today. Like, I was going through so much grief and so much loss because I did not have my first aid. I was not suicidal at that point, but I think if I had not seen a counselor, it could have gotten to that point. My advice is to honestly seek help. You do not have to go through this alone. There are other people out there who may be experiencing and going through the same things that you are going through, and you can honestly create a support network to help yourself get better.